Hello, welcome to another video from the Tech Forge. Today is a specific problem with this Angel Care baby monitor. This is purely a personal project. The fault was that it wasn't charging. That turned out to be the charging unit itself, and so this is actually absolutely nothing to do with this video whatsoever. So I'm going to be slinging that out and getting another one. But what happens with this particular device and many others that have soft feel, soft touch buttons which make a carbon contact to a board inside the actual device is that they get dirty quite quickly and quite often and usually quite quickly after they've been cleaned. So this is really just an example of how to clean one of these devices. So it's useful quite a lot of the time on something like a TV remote control, DVD remote control, anything like that. So, where you've got the soft rubberized buttons and they're pressing onto a circuit board on the underside and making a temporary contact to actually achieve some kind of action. Now, in this particular case, this monitor is usually all right. Well, we don't actually touch these controls much. There's a volume control there. But what happens is that you press the power button and not a lot happens. And if you dig into it a bit, it might come on there. It's coming on now. And what usually happens there is that you get accustomed to digging into the thing, which is obviously not great for the device anyway. And then eventually you have to really press in incredibly hard to get the thing to work. And in which case, eventually you're looking at some kind of failure. So it's really just a case of cleaning it. In this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a standard crosshead screwdriver. This is actually quite a small gauge crosshead screwdriver. Like what you would consider to be quite a small to medium type screwdriver, like this one, is not going to do the job. It's too big in this case. So if I just put those two together like that, so that you can hopefully get an idea about what sort of size this is going to be. It's quite small. It's not tiny dueling screwdriver type level, but you will need something that's a little bit tiny compared to some other things. What I'm going to clean it with is some isopropyl alcohol. You can use an other spirit of some kind if you don't use too much. Water I wouldn't really advise, because unless you're very careful to clean it off afterwards. But you're then introducing the idea of putting fluff onto the contacts, which means that you'll end up with a failure again anyway. I would very much recommend some kind of alcohol cleaner, and you can use if you've got something like a camera lens cleaner, something like that. That's usually just diluted isopropyl alcohol, and that would do the trick absolutely fine. I suppose at a push, maybe if you've got some distilled water or something like that, and you leave the thing to air dry, that would be okay, really. You don't really, with these contacts, you don't want to scrub them. I mean, you could really lightly scrape them with something plastic, see if that helps, but you're not really going to a guaranteed result. This is the stuff to do the job. And to apply it, you want something that's as direct as possible. You can get a bit of a scrubbing motion on. The good old cotton bud does the thing. Raid the wife's supply. What's the worst could happen? She'll be fine with it, I'm sure. So in the case of this particular device, we've got a set of rechargeable batteries to get rid of, which isn't a big issue. Got the ribbon to help that one out. And if I get the right end, you can get those away. So we've got a hidden, sort of semi-hidden screw there, one there and two up there. Nothing else on the unit at all. So we will just quickly dive in there and get these out. So this is not my first, use that as a handy tray. This is not my first visit inside this particular bit of equipment. We've been using this for some years, and it's I tell you what, it's actually been very reliable as a baby monitor. We had we had I think it was a BT device to start out with, and that failed within like a couple of months, and this has just been soldering on. Actually, as well, another thing to mention, these I'm going to try and find if I can buy some more of these GP industrial things, because these are the same batteries we've had in this thing now for 6.5 years, I think, something like that. They're still the same batteries. Their usefulness has definitely been reduced. It doesn't last as long as it used to, but they are still soldering on. They are charging, and they can still do, you know, like an evening's baby monitoring before you then pop it back on the charger for when you go to bed. Anyway, this particular device, we need to slip off this, somehow slip off this coloured casing here, which usually comes off more easily than this, which is very annoying. Of course, for demonstration purposes, it's not going to come off at all easily, is it? But, there it goes. Then, once that's out of the way, you can separate the two halves of the case. And bearing in mind, though, it's got this antenna rod sticking out here, which you will need to negotiate out in that manner. So, inside... Quite a fun device. I've noticed here. For some reason, I don't think I've ever really noticed this. When I was looking at the thing, it seems to have a vibration notifier here, a little motor with an eccentric weight to spin round. As far as I know, it's never vibrated, and I didn't know there was a setting to make it vibrate. But yeah, maybe there is. I mean, you know, you've got accessibility issues and so on. You know, deaf people can have children, and they will want a notification if there's something wrong with their child. So, you know, that's fine. But I don't even remember seeing it in the manual. But hey, there you go. So we've got a board here that mounts the antennas here. So that needs removing from a corner screw here. A slightly curious screw placement as well. One there, and then one up there, and nothing on the other side. So, unfortunately, as I recall, you do have to dig out almost everything in this thing in order just to get down into the where the buttons are. So yeah. So there we go. We've got a shielded off transceiver in there of some sort. It's completely shielded and then isolated by what is like a wodge of cardboard. And absolutely no electronics to talk about there at all, really. You know, there's a lot of unpopulated pads there, which maybe they were supposed to do something else. I don't know. But it's all encapsulated in this thing, and I ain't going in there. And of course, here we have the main gubbins. Lots and lots and lots and lots of very space conscious work in there. You know, it's all basically under the control of this here thing with a few supporting chips here and there, and it's a nice sort of whacked on capacitors there for various purposes. I will endeavour to get through these screws here. I can see two at the top like that. This is the point where I always forget which one is which. I know there's an odd arrangement here as well. Yeah. Two of one screw there, and then we've got one on this side, which is similar to the ones that we just removed from the previous panel, and then another one here that's sort of not in the same place. It's sort of more inboard. Hey ho, never mind. I'm sure they knew what they were doing, and they had their space all sorted out. As you can see, this whole thing's trying to work itself loose. Got to lift it off these plastic pegs this time though, and we're going to end up with a bit of a wire issue because they the speaker doesn't really sort of fall to the right place. You know, I've got this hanging off this side, and I've got this hanging off this side with hard connections, and I don't want to break them for the sake of the job that we've got to do here. So there we go, and diodes there. I'm trying to see if they're little germanium ones, but I don't think they are. Anyway, to be honest, it's a job for another day. On the other side, more caps, and we've got, in a dipped package there, a ribbon cable held on LCD unit, again self-contained. That's obviously got those two smaller screws we're retaining onto the main board. and a hard connection there, presumably for some power on it. And these here are the little terminals for the well, they're the pads for where these buttons will connect to. And here is the button pad itself, wibbly wobbly, just a silicon button array. And it will be grease and general skin and nastiness stuck on the inside of there, dust and you know, all that sort of thing. I mean, you look at them and they look absolutely perfectly clean, but they ain't, because they don't work that well. So what we're going to do is just give them a. You can imagine what we're going to do. It's a case of soaking one of the things here, one of the cotton buds, and giving it a good old rub, really. So just rub till it sounds clean, because it must be clean then. That'll be the power connector in the middle there. Make sure you disturb any dirt or anything in all sorts of directions, you know, up, down, left, right, circular, anything you can do to make it go. You can actually make it shift in any way whatsoever. It's all good and helpful stuff. I'm going to go back and give them another go as well. Has anything come off there? Yeah, that has discoloured. To be honest, it looks a bit green, so I'm probably pulling off a little bit of the sort of very top layer of the solder mask there. That solder mask is getting on a tiny bit, I suppose, in the terms of things. So, but that's fine. That exposed metal is now clean. So what we'll do is just wet the other end of here. Again, my aim is not great, and just start rubbing these. These will come off black. They always do. End up blackening the thing. What I do here is actually I give them a pretty good scrub, because I'm pretty sure, there you go, there's some little black coming off there, that the surface of these always dissolves slightly. The carbon is quite easy to make it come off, but you know, you do want to give them a good scrub, but at the same time you don't want to completely ruin the entire thing. But use the same kind of technique. You need to try and find a clean bit every time. I'm trying to avoid wetting another cotton bud with isopropyl alcohol, but I don't know, I've got one little bit there that will probably do the job. But yeah, use the same technique. Use some vertical strokes, diagonals, and round and all that sort of thing, and that should just generally degrot the entire thing. And yeah, that should provide a better thing. I know I always look at it, and these I really doubt you can see it on camera, but they do have a little dotted pattern in here, possibly even checkerboard pattern or something like that. I don't know. I could magnify it if I was really worried, but I'm not that worried. Yeah, that always seems to stand out a bit better when it's been cleaned. So, but it could be my imagination equally. So. The only other thing to do is to attempt to remember which way around. The symbols on here are now completely knackered. I can see which way the power symbol goes up. The vertical part of the power symbol is here. That belongs this way up in there when we put it in there. And don't do what I just did, which is to end up sort of touching those carbon terminal press areas again, because you might well end up putting some of your finger grease on there. So I'm not sure if I did, but that's what I'm going to do. So I try and err on the side of caution there. You can also just polish off the screen a bit here. It's the super easiest way to access it. You can hope that it comes up with a buff of a reasonable cloth there. Yep, that'll do fine. If it's really grotty, somehow, if it's got really grotty, because bear in mind this part does protect the screen from direct impacts, as you can see from this, possibly see from this crack across there. It does a fairly good job of keeping it safe. But if it is grotty, then again, you can use some of this cleaner on there. Again, don't use too much. Don't just come and swamp the thing like that. That's not the way. Apply it to something else first, and then carefully try and stroke all the dirt off, and try and polish it as well, because you need to get all the grot out of there. So reassembly will be, as they say, reverse of the removal. So taking care to manage the wires correctly as well, I think, is very important in this particular case. They're you don't want to end up having to dismantle the entire unit again because that you've trapped a wire or because you found that you've routed it incorrectly and then ended up meaning that you couldn't sort of install another part of the unit correctly because the wire isn't long enough because you've wrapped it round something or got it stuck under something. Trust me, believe me, personal experience says that that sort of thing can easily happen. So I'm going to leave well enough on these. I keep looking at this sort of splodge on there, and I'm thinking that's a manufacturing thing on the sealing for that control chip there. I'm not going to try and clean that off. I think it's been there a long time and it's going to stay there. So there we go. Right. So screen's on. Pop this back. Get its friend into place. It's slightly off-center friend. There he goes. No, he doesn't. Now he's in. And back to here, so we arrange the antennas correctly. And pop them onto their supporting posts. And the last internal screw. Is there. So again, paying attention to where the wires lie. These will obviously find a little spot in the side under the board, and I also have to negotiate again. This antenna pole needs to go through this hole in order for the unit to seal up properly. Have I got any wires sticking out? No. Good. Looks fine to me. Okay, so some case screws. Again, they really do seem to like these sort of staggered offset screws on this design. I don't know, it seems to be a kind of, maybe a fetish of the engineer, I don't know, I couldn't really tell you. Just finished that off. My screwdriver just about doesn't interfere with the case when it's finally in place. Okay, looking good. Right, time for a flying friend to go back on. Oh look, I've just been handling the screen, silly me. That's going to look annoying if I have to sit there looking at my fingerprints at any time unnecessarily. There we go. That's better. Now, went on there easy as anything. Look, you see, very reluctant to going out. And pleased as anything to go back home again. Clip him back on. And fix it back home. Come on. Right. Good, he's going nowhere. Okay, time to pop those batteries back in. Let's get the annoying bit out of the way first with the ribbon, with the helper ribbon. Pop that last bit down there and his crosswise friend on top. case on, and there we go. And what we'll just do is check with a bit of light pressure to see if it comes on very easily. What have I done wrong here? Have I got the batteries the right way round? This one feels a bit strange. Feels like it's not quite far down enough. Let's just check it will actually come to life if I try and charge it. Yes, so it's definitely working in that regard. We're going to get battery charging symbol. Not getting a battery charging symbol. Make sure that I haven't done anything absolutely stupid. I've definitely got those batteries the right way round. And then this fella goes in like that. Still no battery charging symbol. Fantastic. So we've got ourselves a fault. For the sake of trying to improve, this infernal machine has repaid us with a fault. Now, those of you watching may say that it's probably down to some kind of reassembly mess that I've made. I say that you may well be right. But seeing as how I've done the same thing that I've done before on this particular device, I'm really not sure why that would be the case. But what we will do is we will pop in there, make sure that we haven't somehow chopped off a wire or something similar. I don't know if this is going to fly off again. Yeah, caught you that time. Haven't quite got this one out enough. There it goes. Now then, where are we now? Now, what was it I was saying about making sure that cables are correctly spaced, and leads and wires and all that kind of thing. Goodness me. Right, I've just checked, got my soldering gear sorted out and checked where this wire goes. It does seem to want to go to this terminal here, and that is where it belongs. Here's the fun thing. I thought the best way to double check where this wire goes was to review the original footage of this particular repair, and guess what? I managed to snap that wire off at the exact same point that I was just bringing up the subject of being very careful about your wires when you reassemble any given product. So isn't that fantastic? Really couldn't have happened at a better time. So what I'm doing here is I am going to use my trusty Zytronic soldering iron, which rather embarrassingly has a like a micro soldering point on it at the moment, but I'm going to do my best to see if I can make this stuff actually dissolve. I'm making it shiny but only in a small area. What I'm going to do is cheat and bring up the purpose of a temperature controlled soldering iron that was set to 250 degrees C, and because I have started off with the wrong point, the wrong tip on the soldering iron. This is for this was something I was using to solder a 0602 gauge, couple of 0602 gauge capacitors on a previous job, and it's really too tiny for this, so it really can't apply enough heat over a given area. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to put more heat in any one given point. Yeah, there we go. I've now got ourselves a flowing joint on there, which is fine, which is good. That's what we want. So I was going to use this trusty old solder sucker to try and clear it off a bit. So it's pretty trusty, but it's going to needs a bit of a clean. If you haven't seen one of these before, apply your soldering iron, make the solder nice and molten, and then you press the button, and that will draw hopefully all of the solder that you want off. And usually it's pretty good, but quite often you have to go in again. So, but we won't be needing it. What I'm going to do is very carefully just trim, hopefully not the end of my finger off. I'm just going to try and give myself a little bit of wire to work with. Also some wire. Just got some wire to play with. Let's see if we can get this to go in to a reasonable level. Reapply all the heat onto there. Really cheating and trying to use this soldering iron away, this soldering tip in a way that it wasn't designed for. There we go, it's getting molten now. Reattach the wire, roll it in that solder, really get it all stuck down as hard as we can. So hopefully it's back on its terminal in a reasonable standard. I'm not too happy that I'm going to add some more on the top. Doesn't want to go. I managed to desolder the entire wire. There we go. Seems a bit happier now. Quick refit of the batteries. Might even get back to the original purpose, which was to make the buttons work a little bit better. And it's come on with no effort whatsoever. Yep, synced up to the base station. Switching off again. Yep, sort of few second delay, power delay there. It's what the unit's designed to do. And if I pop it on the charger, we have, hopefully, a charging signal. Well, it's actually charged, so there's no charging to do there. So yeah, there we go. So a procedure that, as long as you don't disconnect your battery holder, then what you've got there is something that you can do on anything really that has this rubber silicon thing with a carbon contact. It's pressing onto a board underneath. Extremely common in all sorts of devices, your TV remote probably works, almost certainly works like that, and you know, a great many other things too. Anything that's a really soft operating thing, you find them everywhere in the world, and that is the way to clean them off a bit. You know, these things, unfortunately, with the world, the way the world is at the moment, these tend to be very cheap. These aren't necessarily very cheap, but a lot of remote controls will be thrown away for that particular reason. And usually on a remote control, you've got less screws to get through as well, and a single board inside. And you know, access is probably actually going to be a little bit easier. You won't have that multiple layers of board situation. You should be able to get in quite simply with a small screwdriver. In fact, you might not even need that at all. A lot of them will simply slide apart. And you usually start from the battery bay as you know, as the easiest method of access, unless you've got some really obvious screws there. And yeah, you can usually find your way onto the underside of the board, or it should be the top side of the board. Clean all those contacts over there. Obviously, there'll be a lot more on an average TV remote control or DVD remote control or something like that. And then you can extract the button assembly, which will probably be a big, long, floppy silicon arrangement with lots more of these contacts. So you'll need a reasonable supply. It's probably even worth squirting it into a pot of some sort, and you know, then having several of these cotton buds, each one pleasing the wife more and more. You know, the more she loses, it'll be fine. And you know, you just keep dipping and keep going until you've done them all. Or you might even have a few that are just known to be troublesome. So on this one, these three buttons are used by far the most, and of them, the power ones use most. So guess which one gives the most bother. Yeah, on your TV remote, you'll be cleaning your power or your volume, or your common channels or something like that. Your channel numbers pretty often, but you can resurrect that. It might only save you a tenner or £20 or something like that, but you know, it's something that works. It's something that works all over the place. So yeah, there you go. And here, just to murder the point entirely, is the inside of an old remote control for a music system. So there's a single board that came out of the unit. Well, it's really very extremely simple. There's nothing to it. Same kind of contacts as on here, that kind of you know, area increasing wiggle from the thing, and the back of here is exactly the same kind of carbon contact. This thing is pretty old, so it probably could do with a clean, but in fact this particular button has actually got some white crust inside it, which I'm able to remove my fingernail, so I've already improved that. But no, exactly the same thing going back many years. This thing's been around a long time, so it's completely the same sort of thing. So isopropyl alcohol and the cotton bud on both sides. Obviously, there's a bit more work to do on one of these. It would be, as I said, on a TV remote of some kind, but it's really not that hard to get through. It's just a case of methodically going through every single one, and the principle is exactly the same for any of these, really. So hopefully it could save you you know, £10–20, whatever it is that you pay for your particular type of remote. Some could be a lot more expensive than that, so it could really be worth doing. It's very unlikely the thing is actually worn out. It's most probably just grotty. So there you go. Thanks very much for watching the video, and please do like and comment and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks very much. Bye bye.